Welcome back to another episode of CricChat. Today we have Paul, who has been umpiring for a while in Calgary. So welcome, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
There's a lot that's been going on in the city of Calgary, so we're going to have a conversation with you. First, I want to know, what do you think of the umpiring standards in city of Calgary right now?
Personally, for me, I feel like myself, I'm in demand a lot as a fully neutral umpire, shall we say. But a lot of the feedback I get from other teams and players and leagues is that it's not the greatest right now. So, we're trying to do what we can to improve that and hopefully move forward.
Okay. So what are some of the things that are lacking, or what are some of the main complaints that you are seeing? What's the missing puzzle?
Well, a lot of it's going to be hindsight because the complaints that we see are, wrong decisions and things that affect the game from one side. So you kind of take that with a grain of salt and say, well, was it the umpire or was it just the players having a bad day? And I got to stick up for my fellow umpires here and say that, I don't think there's any kind of corruption or favoritism, anything like that. But, there definitely is a need for maybe a little bit more training or development in that sense. And, we're trying to accomplish that now. We have a new organization in Calgary called Calgary Cricket Officials. And we're trying to host like monthly meetings to discuss issues and discuss rules and interpretations and things like that. So I think that's a positive start.
Yeah, we need these things, but at the same time, do you think the leagues, are they running enough seminars, or are we too focused on number of games per year?
I try not to get involved with league politics too much. I just kind of set it as, assign me where I'm needed. I'll show up. I'll do my job and walk away. There's been a lot of leagues, well, not a lot of leagues, but some leagues that have definitely approached me about, quality of umpiring and making myself more available. And I think the biggest thing is just asking the question of how do you develop an umpire? How do you train them to be at the standard that you want? And it kind of starts with the players. I think that there's a little bit of disconnection between respect and realizing that when we go out, we're not there for the money. It's a very minimal contribution for our time. I know a lot of umpires will have quit or done other things because it's they can make more money driving for Uber instead of standing outside for 9 hours a day. So I think the players a lot need to understand why we're there and why we're not there to make their day bad. We're there to help them. Mm-hmm. I have this conversation pretty much every game with two captains of the toss, is that, we're here to assist and we're here to make your game enjoyable, whether you win or lose. There's going to be a result, and that's how we do it. Certainly what we've been trying to install this year is putting more of the responsibility on the captain and making sure that, if a decision is questionable, it doesn't go your way, I don't want 11 players charging at me, right? I want to have a conversation with one person who can relay that and relay the information. I always say that, like, I have no problem explaining my decision and talking through the process, whether it's right or wrong, but I'm going to do it to one person and one person only, and that's the captain. I don't care if the bowler's got an issue, he goes to the captain comes to me. So I think that's a lot of it, and a lot of the players really are starting to understand that, and that's getting a lot better. But again, too, we have a big issue, I think, with players that are also umpires. I only know of a handful of people that are strictly umpires that don't play the game per se, or they might play in a different league but umpire in a different league. So you get that bit of controversy where if you're an umpire that's also a player, you're kind of saying to yourself, well, I expect a certain level of respect because that's what I would do on the field. And then on the reverse of that, if you're an umpire that's now playing in a game, you're more likely to approach the umpire and say, I didn't agree with that. I know the rules. Here's what I would have done. And I think that's a big problem, is just really defining the line between, when you're a player, when you're a captain, when you're an umpire.
Yeah. So do you think the assertiveness is a problem for the umpires? Because, as you're saying, you're telling the captain that you just want to have a conversation with the captain after the decision is made and people are charging at you. Because I've seen it so many times happen to so many umpires that if decision is wrong, it's like they killed somebody or it's the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. We get a lot of complaints, especially from the leagues right now, is that umpires aren't able to control the game.
Yeah.
And when I first heard that, I took it, I slept on it, and then I responded to the complaint, and I said, what I'm hearing is not the umpire didn't control the game, is that the players acted up. If you've got 11 players storming an umpire, trying to get him to change the decision, that's not good for the game. Cricket, the laws of cricket are very black and white, and once a decision is made, the decision's made. You see it 10 times a game where I've got players screaming at a leg umpire for an LBW decision, and if I'm standing at square leg, I'm not going to change the decision or even have a conversation with the other umpire about changing it. If the umpire says not out, it's not out. And if it's out, the batsman should walk. I mean, we can talk about it after the game, and the batsman can understand why the decision was made, and we have no problems having those conversations if it's in a friendly and approachable manner, right? And that's good for player development too. Like, players aren't going to learn or get better by just saying, "Oh, I wasn't out," and walking away from it. And we're happy to have those conversations.
Yeah. Now, you talked about the training portion, right? Now, how important is the education portion for the teams itself, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the teams, they don't necessarily have the full understanding of the laws, and we don't expect them to, right? That's why we're there to bridge that gap between what the law says and what happens on the field. And it gets very complicated with certain situations with penalty runs and interpretations of laws. And I actually take pride in educating players and teams. When a decision is made, and maybe they didn't understand the rule, and I actually enjoy explaining the law and explaining the interpretation of the law. And a lot of it's black and white. You look at LBW decisions, right? I mean, you've got a fast bowler bowling around the wicket, pitches outside leg, it's automatic, not out. But yet, every time the ball hits the pads, 11 players are going up.
Right.
So things like that I think are important. That just knowing when is the right time to approach an umpire and when is not, and a lot of that is on the teams and on the players.
Right. Now, I think with some teams, at least I can speak on some teams' behalf, and I can say the education portion is not as bad for them. However, the league rules, I'm not talking about one league in particular, I'm talking about all the leagues in the city and beyond. They have their own rules. That's where the gap is. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and certainly, like, local laws, we'll call them, certainly play a factor. As an umpiring organization, we request a copy of the laws at the beginning of the season. So after leagues have their AGM and they set the rules for the season, we generally get a copy and we go through them. And I find a lot of it gets missed. And 50% of the time, we'll say, I show up to a game and it's just me. They have maybe it's a league assigned leg umpire, or the batting team provides the leg umpire, and there's no match referee. There's not even like a league representative there to back me up on it. I mean, the biggest one is things like uniforms. We deal so much at the beginning of the season where we show up and there's 7 guys in a blue jersey and 4 guys in a white jersey, and the rules say like you need 11 players in jerseys, and we have to make that decision of, do we say 4 players can't play and the game doesn't happen, or do we say, look, at the end of the day, it's a color shirt and let the game happen, and we have to kind of take that as we can. I mean, I know a big issue, I think, worldwide right now is scoring apps and how they're used, and it's a lot different from when I was playing, and it was all pen and paper, and you didn't know if the player was actually the name, and there's no photographs attached, and I think a lot of the local laws that are put forth by these leagues are more political than that actually like geared towards the game. I mean, we could get 22 players on a field and say, okay, ICC rules apply, and the game happens, and who cares what they're wearing, right? We know that the 11 players on the field are the feet of the fielding team. There's 2 guys in the middle with bats and 9 on the boundary, and that's the batting team. And I understand what the leagues are trying to do by making it more professional, and when you see cars drive by, and it's better to have that image of, oh, you've got 11 guys wearing the same kit, and that's great, and I think that's great for the sport. Mm-hmm. We just deal a lot with, especially at the beginning of the year, it's, oh, our jerseys are delayed, or they're coming next week, and we talked to the league and the league said it's okay, and that's great, but the league doesn't communicate to us that that's okay. We don't get we don't get as much feedback as we need to say, okay, we're this team's okay wearing jerseys, or and things like nominated players, whether they're registered with the league yet, or they're not in the app. So what do we do? Right. And they expect us to become technicians now and deal with these issues. And we don't have league permission on the app. We can't add a player. We can't do anything like that. So a lot of those we try to leave up to the teams and get them to sort it out. Because we don't want to show favoritism, right? If I say, okay, these guys can play even though they're wearing different jerseys, all of a sudden I look like I'm favoring that team, and that's not good for anybody. So, on the leagues, I think that when they issue these rules, it should be very clear that, the leagues are good because they do say, okay, the umpire's decision's final, but then we get into the situation of, well, we played last week and they let us play in these jerseys, and then what am I to do now? Right? I don't have league executive contact numbers, and even if I did, like, they're not going to answer me at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Yeah. So, I think that the leagues need to do a little bit better job with, setting these rules and saying that this is it, and you have a deadline to get jerseys, and there's no exceptions, and if there is an exception, that should be communicated to us in advance and communicated to all teams. Yeah. That, okay, that these guys are waiting on jerseys, it's not their fault. We're going to let them play this week or whatever. So
yeah, I think consistency is what they are trying to aim for. But again, with logistics, there are challenges. But at the same time, I think it comes down to, because if you're running a club, you're going to have 11 players in April that will be on the field. Mm-hmm. So why can't you order in December?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it changes because there's sponsors, or teams moving leagues, new players coming in, and different sizes, or they want numbers on the back, names on the back, and that's all great. That's great for the image of the game, and certainly when you get say a tournament, and you got a lot of people that come out to watch, and you've got that 11 players wearing the same kit. I think it does really look good on the sport, and it looks good to the city, and it looks good to the province, that we're doing these things. And it really is just like, my comment to the leagues would be, is that what is truly important to you, and how, as umpires, can we help you with that? Right. If you really don't want players playing that are in a different color jersey or different style of jersey. I mean, 2 years ago we got a memo from the league saying, that the pants had to match, and there was no exceptions. And it was like, guys were showing up and they had black pants with a green trim, and then one guy obviously just went to Walmart and picked up a pair of black pants, and they expected us to say, "Oh, he can't play. He's not wearing the exact same color."
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's now I've ruined 10 people's day.
Yeah.
Right, because they're now at a disadvantage, and it ultimately, like, it comes back to me.
Right.
So things like that. I mean, it's a communication thing, and I think a lot of players try and get away with things. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm there to make a game happen and to have a result.
And I know you kind of mentioned this earlier. A lot of these rules are set for political power or gain or whatever that case is for all these clubs that they know this is not going to hurt them. Like, it's unnecessary, completely unnecessary to have a rule like where, if one person is this way or one person is that way. It's just, I don't know if it's really necessary. I think we should be focusing on the rules and regulations rather than just worrying about, okay, this guy has a trim of a certain color on their side.
Yeah.
I think there's bigger things to worry about. Now, another thing I've been noticing, and when I've gone to the field, I've seen this quite a bit. Junior umpires are coming on and umpiring even like higher division games. And then they're phoning their captains and asking, "Hey, this has happened. Now, how do I deal with it?"
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because like if I take a day off for whatever reason, guaranteed I'm getting 3 or 4 calls from other umpires saying, to clarify a rule, or I even have captains calling me saying, can you check this for me? And I'm happy to do that. But when it comes to new umpires or junior umpires, I mean, the question that I ask is how do you develop an umpire? How do you train someone to be at the level you want? Because I can read the laws cover to cover. I can memorize it. I can write the test. I get 100%. And that doesn't matter once I step out on the field, because the field of play is so much different than what the rules say or what I've read. And the only way to develop an umpire is experience. And that means they're going to make some wrong decisions, and they're going to give some outs when they should have been not outs. And the more games that we're able to let them do and let them stand and gain that experience is going to be better for the sport. We had a game last year. I had an umpire with me. He was maybe 15 years old. The kid just loves the game. And I could tell that because he's mimicking. The batsman plays a good shot and he's turning around. And he's mimicking the shot. Like he's really appreciating the game, and you can see his genuine love for the game. And then last ball of the game, there's a waist high no ball that he calls, and I agreed with it. And it changed the result of the game. And all of a sudden, you got 11 guys charging at him, and this kid's super young, and
what's that gonna do to his confidence?
And he's in tears after it, and I've got to take him to the side and talk him through it and say, look, you did 100% of your actions were right. You made the right call, and it's just a bad day. And it's those kind of situations like that. Kid's never going to want to umpire again. Like, why would you?
Yeah, he's not going to be able to sleep.
You've got 11 grown men charging at you, saying whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to want to get on the field again. And like for myself, I mean, there's not a lot of people that intimidate me, but that's not true for all umpires. So I feel like there's a lot of umpires that are hesitant to do games. Like I know of one umpire, he makes it very clear at the beginning of the season that he will not umpire playoff games. He says, I can't deal with, the pressure and people charging at me. And I say, yeah, that's fair. No, we'll get through the season. But yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate to see situations like that and really have very little recourse on it. I mean, that game I mentioned, I mean, I don't think like any players got suspended or fined or anything like that. So, I think that's a big issue with how situations like that are dealt with at the league level.
Yeah.
And there's really, in my opinion, there's not enough repercussions for when players attack umpires verbally.
Yeah. And I think it's not just verbally.
Correct.
I've seen and heard about some things that have happened, and unnecessary and uncalled for, but umpires have been mistreated or with a lot of disrespect, and in some cases have been attacked physically. So I know you said you're not scared of anybody.
Well, I would say I'm not scared of anybody, but there's certainly, there's not, I lose that intimidation factor. I mean, I can handle, players coming at me. That's fine, but that's not true of all umpires in the city.
Yeah. So do you think when you see these things, and I think I've seen you wear a body cam for a while now, and do you think that could be something that all umpires should do, or how do you think that would add value to the game?
Yeah, so the body cam is interesting. So yeah, I mean, I encourage obviously anyone to wear it. There's actually I know of one other umpire this year who's wearing it every game, and it's funny because like I started wearing the body camera for not that reason at all. It was actually a very negative situation that happened with me, and I'd like to talk about it. That's okay.
Of course.
So, 3 years ago, no, 3 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago now, I had a game where it was a playoff game, and we got told by the league at the start of the game that there was no DLS to be used, that there had to be 20 overs, and they had a reserve day if we needed to use it or stop the game and continue the next day. Which again, you talk about local laws. I mean, that doesn't apply in the ICC laws. So, so I had, so I started to rain, called the players off. We waited for about an hour and a half. And my opinion was the pitch was okay to play. It wasn't perfect. It was still damp. The outfield was a little dewy. But I think at the time there was like 9 balls left in the inning and they needed 6 runs to win.
Okay.
It wasn't, and 5 wickets in hand, something like that. And it wasn't like it was, there was 1 ball left and they needed 6 to win, anything like that. And I had someone approach me who claimed to be an executive with Alberta Cricket. And he started yelling, calling me names, saying that I was endangering players' lives, and that if someone broke his leg, it was on me, and I had to pay a salary and things like that. And after the game, I actually submitted a report to Alberta Cricket, and I said, I don't think that it's appropriate that someone who's claiming to be an executive, whether he was or not at the time, is trying to influence my decision on a game that really doesn't matter to them.
Sure.
And that, he was trying to use his position of power to intimidate me to favor one team. And I didn't hear anything directly back from Alberta Cricket, but a few months later, I actually heard from someone who was connected with them that there was actually an accusation on me of racist comments. And at first, I was kind of taken back because I played in my mind, like, what did I say? Maybe something was heard wrong or interpreted wrong. So that's kind of why I started wearing it. It was just more for my protection. And I joke a lot with players when they ask me about it. And I say, I've got a translator, and I give it to him at the end of the games, and he tells me what you really say about me. And, I kind of make light of it. But yeah, that was the reason I started wearing it. And then I've kind of taken that now, and I pull the videos, and like we have a notebook we use in the games. And anytime there's a close decision, like a close run out or an LBW that was close, I make a note of the time, and I actually go back and review it. It's just more from my training. And I have a few of these videos I share with the other umpires, and, we have a WhatsApp group, and quite frequently I'll send videos to say, what do you think, guys? I mean, and, we'll get like, oh, definitely out, not out, definitely. And then I tell them what I did on the field. And, and stuff like that. It's a good feedback tool and a good way of definitely increasing, the knowledge and the standards. I've always said that, the more games that I can stand in is better for me personally and my development. I mean, who knows where this umpiring journey is going to take me, but hopefully it's a lot more than just local league cricket.
So you're a level 2 umpire.
Mm-hmm.
You did your level 2 in England. Why level 2? And talk about that journey, please.
Yeah. So, it was just, the opportunity was there, and the the amount of available courses and exam dates in the UK is so much more exponential than out here. I mean, in Alberta, they only write the exam once a year in April, and that's it. I mean, if you decide in June you want to be an umpire, you got to wait the 10 months to make any progress. Um, what I was doing in the UK, I was playing at kind of like a level 4 county level, and the the league that I was in, um, they would only allow umpires, like the team would send an umpire,
Hmm.
or if they didn't have one, they'd send a player out. And the league had a rule where you had to be over 25
Hmm.
to umpire. You can stand a square leg, that was fine. So for me, I was just cricket mad. I love the game, I was in a position where I was active 7 days a week.
Hmm.
I had, Mondays was like a junior training, Tuesdays was men's training, Wednesday was usually a 20 over game. Thursday was school game, and then Friday practice, and then Saturday, Sunday was games. And so I found that I was actually umpiring a lot of junior games. I was doing like under 11, under 13, that kind of thing. And, they were always, early morning on the weekends, and then I'd go play after.
Hmm.
And it was just, a way to keep my mind sharp and get out there and explore the game more. And I was able to write level 1 and then level 2 pretty quick after that. Um, and then and that's kind of how it happened. I mean, there
Hmm.
was no real reason behind it or no desire to umpire like I am now. It was just the opportunity was there, and I took it.
How long did you have to wait between level 1 to level 2?
So I think, if I remember correctly, I mean, this is a long time ago. I think I wrote the level 1 um, right at the beginning of the season, and then kind of towards the end of the season, I wrote the level 2. So yeah, it was definitely within a year.
How does it work here in Alberta if you're level 1 already? Do you have to wait a year if you're saying there's only one once a year?
Yeah, so I don't think it's going from level 1 to level 2. I don't think there's a time restriction, but they only write the exams once a year. And we've been fortunate in Calgary. The last 2 years, they've actually held an exam in Calgary. Before that, you had to go up to Edmonton to write it. There's
Hmm.
the gentleman that does the test is based out of Edmonton. So, fortunately, the last 2 years, we've had enough people to justify being able to get him down from Edmonton
Hmm.
to write an exam here. I know right now I'm in the process of trying to do my level 3 in Canada, but there are a lot more restrictions on that. So you need to have, I think it's 3 years of records or letters from the league to say that you've done a certain amount of games, and so that that's a good thing, that you're not just letting people read a book and write the test. Yes, you need to have some experience to get up to that level 3
Yeah.
level.
There's a few umpires that I know in a little bit of cricket that I've played here. Ron, Tony, and now Funny has been
Mhm.
umpiring quite a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think of their contributions to the game or cricket in Calgary?
Yeah, I mean, the more umpires, the better. Especially people that are passionate about the game, and that are playing the game regularly and seeing different scenarios. I had the pleasure of umpiring with Fanny a couple times last year,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to hammer this in this whole interview, is that the more games umpires can see is the better. I mean, the more experience. I mean, there's no 2 games that are ever the same.
Mm.
So you're going to get tricky situations come up, and how you deal with it is going to reflect on how you deal with it the next time. And that's the beauty of the game. I mean, it's the same for all positions. I mean, if you're a batsman, you get out bowled to a slower ball, and you as
Or a
you're
full toss.
yeah, yeah, as you're walking back, you say to yourself, "Okay, I should have played this shot." And it's the same as umpiring.
Right.
Same as bowling, right? You bowl a bouncer and get hit for 6, and you go, "All right, I'm not going to do that again."
Mm.
And it's the same as umpiring. Like you have a decision that maybe you reflect on it, and you say, "Oh, that wasn't the right one," and you learn from it. And yeah, so certainly, anyone that's interested in umpiring, I encourage you to do it at whatever level you can, or get involved however you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what does Paul Newnham want going forward for umpiring in Calgary and beyond?
Um, well, so like I said, like we started an organization this year, Calgary Cricket Officials, and we our goal was we had three goals. Is we wanted a uh, an outlet to schedule umpires and make sure that the leagues are happy, and there's always enough umpires
Mm,
to fill the different games. Um, Second thing was to develop umpires, to increase the quality of umpiring, and then also to have a centralized payment system, because we've had a lot of issues the last few years with umpires getting paid and getting paid on time, and what we feel is a reasonable amount of time. Um, so that's kind of our goals, and that's what we're aiming for the next few years.
right. Now, how can one join that organization?
Yeah, so we got a website in development right now. Certainly, um, the majority of umpires you'll see in pink shirts this year. That's our umpires. Feel
Mm,
free to approach one of us. Myself, um, I'm usually at WCL or IPL most weekends,
mm,
and we'd love to just get you to a meeting. We've got a meeting here coming up, I think, next week. Certainly, if anyone wants to come by and meet us, and just kind of see what we do and see what we're about, we'd love to have you. So.
yeah, I'm not sure if you're comfortable with this yet, but if there is a way for youngsters to join the WhatsApp group that you were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
if you want to share that information with me later, I can add that to the
Yeah,
screen.
sure. I mean, the more voices we have in the city, um, even if you just want to join the group and just read the comments
Right.
and see the videos we post, and the questions that get asked. I mean, we have things like, um, oh, the ball hit the wicketkeeper's glove when it was on the ground, and what do I do? And we explain that, and it's very active. There's always questions. Guys are posting a lot of like TikToks and Facebook posts
Mm,
of decisions from an international level, and saying like, I don't think this was out, and we talk about it. So
yeah.
it's definitely a good group to be in, and yeah, it's very active, very engaging. So.
Definitely. On a lighter note, there's one question I want to ask you. I don't know if it's a lighter note or not. You created a lot of controversy recently. What
Yeah,
happened?
it's always me. That's
So
what a lot of people say.
there was a body cam video that got circulated in so many teams' WhatsApp groups.
Hmm.
You were part of it.
Yeah, I mean that was a different game. I've never been a part of a game that intense.
Mm,
And it's funny because we had I don't want to say it's funny. It wasn't funny at all. But the CDCL hearing that happened, the a lot of things that were said in there was that it it kind of started from the beginning, and that things were said, and like there was animosity, and I just said, look, I mean, I obviously have a bit of a language barrier. I don't know.
sure.
I mean, I know maybe 6 words in Hindi now. Uh, I'm getting there. It's mostly numbers. But a lot of things that were said from the disciplinary committee was that, this was said in the first inning, and this was said. And I said, look, guys, I mean, to me, it seemed like it was friendly, and then it all kicked off in the second inning. And, and that was, again, like I reflected on that, is that, maybe I missed something that day. And maybe I didn't.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that game, I had another umpire with me who said, yeah, okay. And he translated for me, said, yeah, this was said and this was said. But yeah, I mean, thankfully I had the body camera on, because I think that angle showed
Yeah.
the true um, intentions of the players involved. I mean, I know that the accusations were made that, oh, I was defending myself, and it really wasn't like that. So I'm glad I had it on that day, and it's funny because it was a couple times last year I did CDCL games, and I didn't wear it because um, I felt at the time that CDCL players were a lot more respectful. I
Mm,
did a few games and had no issues, and And then I had one game at the end of last year where it was another controversy decision, and I really wish I had it on because, yeah, like things were said and hearings were had, and yeah, that game was certainly eye opening for me, and I think a lot of the cricketing community in Canada wide. I mean, I know there was comments from Ontario and
Yes.
all over that, especially up in Edmonton, they got really involved with it. But
Yeah.
So I think it was good that, and I think it was handled well at the end of the day too.
Yeah, I think CDCL took really swift actions,
Mhm.
and they can only do what the bylaws say, right?
Right.
They can't overpunish person that is involved. You can only do what you can do. If you look at the rule book, what does the rule book say? Okay, this is the appropriate punishment.
Mhm.
And I think this was the first time ever any league took the action the way they should be taking. I think a lot of the time, what happens is if it's not recorded, it never happened, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I know the video got circulated, and then your comments on one of those clips there that, hey, you know what, I know a better story about this,
Mhm.
and I promised everybody that I will uncover what the truth is. And thanks to CDCL for taking the actions that they have taken. But end of the day, we have to make sure that this is not part of the game.
Yeah. And I think it's important too. Like I talked about, there's a few different leagues in the city, and I've really tried to make it kind of a personal goal to just spread myself around.
Hmm.
I know, like 2 years ago, we only umpired in CCCS, and I was seeing the same 12 teams week in, week out, and to me, like that wasn't good for my development because I'm just seeing the same cricket, the same standard, and it was never going to improve. So now that we've got a few different leagues that we're working with, and I get to go to tournaments. I mean, I've been to Edmonton the last 2 years for a Champions tournament, and seeing um, international players come in, and
Hmm.
even like there's some tournaments here where we had Aaron Johnson last year
Hmm.
show up for a tournament, and seeing that higher level is great for all cricket.
Yeah.
From a player point of view and from an umpire point of view too.
Hmm.
Um, so
What does that do to the youngsters who are watching the game?
yeah, I mean, I would love for more youngsters to get out and just watch. And certainly umpiring is a great way of doing that. I mean, that's what why I started getting involved as much as I did, was that it was my chance to be a part of the action without being part of the action.
Yeah.
I mean, no one has a better view of the game than I do.
Right.
Right. You want to come see big sixes or, in swinging Yorkers. I mean, I have the best view of the house. Right. You can sit around the boundary and watch from a distance, but no one has a better view than I do. And I think that's important for the young people too, is that if they're they're not playing as much as they want, and they're not watching as much cricket as they want, like this is a great way to get out. And I know there's some junior leagues in the city that are increasing in popularity, and they need umpires too, and
Hmm.
usually it's parents giving up their evenings or weekends, and I'd love to have a couple of juniors that are willing to umpire, willing to learn the game, and from the grassroots up.
I know earlier in the interview you mentioned you are running some developmental courses on on monthly basis or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
What should leagues do to make sure that this has become a standard?
Well, I mean, I think the leagues that we're working with now, I think are kind of taking our direction and saying, they're leaving the umpiring up to us. Um, I think in the past, like we had league meetings where they got all the umpires in a room and said, "Here's how we want the season to go,"
Hmm.
and it was, "This is our way," and take it as you will. And this year, I think because we're more of an organization, we have more of a structure now, is that they've kind of left it up to us and say, hey, you take the umpiring off our hands, and that's one less thing we have to deal with. So I think that's a positive, because they're letting us handle issues internally more so than they have in the past.
Hmm.
Um, things like feedback from negative decisions, or negative feedback on umpires. They're letting us handle it rather than saying that we don't want this guy scheduled anymore or things like that.
Right.
So I think that's a positive. I mean, we would love the leagues to provide feedback from teams or from players of how we can help. Like I said from the start, I mean, we're not there for the money. We're not there,
Mhm.
to ruin anyone's day. We're there to help the game go. We're to help a result happen and for a cricket game
Right.
too.
We can talk more about this off camera, but there's one thing I quickly wanted to bring to your attention is that you can have Google Forms and other things like that to make
Mhm.
sure that, there's a proper channel for
Mhm.
the feedback. Because if there's no proper channel, then, sending an email to so and so, and then they are forwarding, it's not going to go anywhere. Why can't we just like our registration processes, you fill out a form and
Mhm.
it just goes to the appropriate party. And then it can be just shared amongst X number of players or, sorry, executives and so on and so forth. But I think we need that. Also, another thing I would strongly suggest you to get your website up as quickly as you
Yes.
can and get the rules up for each league. So that way, if I want to play for X league,
Mhm.
I should be able to go to your website or so and so's website and just find the rules there. I
Yeah.
don't have to go to 5 different channels or ask so many people to figure out what my rules are for this league. And that's also been a big problem. Their players don't know where to go to get that information.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the problem too, and maybe this is something that I'd love your feedback on is the way that it seems that all the leagues in Calgary right now, they have this rule that you cannot play in more than one league.
Hmm.
And just coming from where I used to play in the UK, where I was on a junior team and a senior team, and I know some leagues have rules with floaters and stuff, but so many guys in this league are so passionate about cricket and they just love the game that I don't see an issue with saying, look, I'm going to play in two different leagues. I'm going to play a game on Saturday, a game on Sunday. And I think it comes back to that political comment that um, the leagues are trying to own players.
Yeah.
And, I even see it now with umpires is that, I've leagues approach me saying, we want you every week. And
Mm.
I'm like, you don't own me.
Right.
All right. And it's not beneficial for me to stand in your league every week and see the same teams coming through. Um, so, I mean, rules like that kind of bother me a little bit. But at the same time, when you're talking about league specific rules, for probably 95% of players is that they can just read one set of rules and they know that's for their league. I mean, tournaments are different, obviously, but we see a lot right now with WCL and IPL that they have players that have transferred over from CDCL, and
Mhm.
immediately they come on the bat without a helmet on, and we have to say, "Oh no, it's a league rule." Yet, like helmet's mandatory all the time, and they argue about it and say, "Well, it's CDCL, we don't have to," and um, it's things like that where I totally agree with you that yeah, they players maybe need to um, get on board with the rules a little more and study them a little bit more because yeah, there are a lot of those league specific rules that do pop up quite frequently.
Yeah. Now, one last thing that before we end the show. Now, with the way things are going, now you have a couple of leagues. More may pop down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we think? Is there a way to unite them all? Do you think there is a way?
I would love to. I actually pitched at the end of last year to a couple of the other umpires. I know this year the kind of the first week of the season, like April 15th, the WCL held a test match where they tried to hold a test match, and it was the first one of its kind,
Mm.
and things like that are great. And my pitch is that first weekend of the season before any league start, let's get like an all-star game.
Hmm.
Let's get the best players from each league and do a head-to-head tournament.
Sure.
You've got 4 major leagues in Calgary. Let's get an all-star team from each league and just have a celebration of cricket.
Exactly.
We could even do it like an umpires game where we get 11 umpires to come out and play, a very friendly game. And that was my pitch. And I was just told, look, it'll never happen. I mean, these guys all hate each other and they're all trying to be number one. And it's not good for the sport. And I know some of the leagues are amicable with the others and they'll work together a little bit when it comes to tournament times or things like that. And that was the one thing with starting this organization, is that we felt that 2 years ago we were controlled by CCCS. We got told by Alberta Cricket, you're not allowed to umpire CDCL games. They're not authorized cricket. The only league you can stand in is CCCS because they're Alberta approved. I mean, I got an email. I got approached to do smash and grab as an umpire, and got an email from Alberta Cricket saying, if you umpire, you'll lose your standing with Alberta Cricket. And and that really bothered me because, as I've tried to hammer in this whole interview, is that the more games I can see and the more teams I can see is the better for my development. And I actually had this conversation with Amol, who's the president of Alberta Cricket Umpires Scores Association, is that, why are you telling me that I can't umpire? Who cares what cricket it is?
Exactly.
Whether it's league approved or Alberta Cricket approved. I mean,
or gully cricket.
yeah. At the end of the day, you've got 22 guys that want to play and are passionate about the game and have paid their fees to whoever. City's happy with permits and whatever. Like, why are you telling me I can't umpire? And that thing that kind of really bothered me a little bit.
And now, are you allowed to umpire any league, or is there still restrictions?
Yeah. I mean, like, I've kind of taken the attitude of I'm not owned by anybody. If you're willing to pay the rate, I don't, I don't have a rate for myself, and then, umpires don't set their own rates, right? We work with the league to discuss a fair rate for time. And I've just kind of said, look, I mean, no one's going to tell me that I can or cannot umpire.
So where'd you get those balls to say what you are saying right now?
Well, because I mean, here's the thing: is that I am for sure a minority in the sport.
Sure.
I mean, I think in the 3 years I've been umpiring, I've seen, maybe two other players of, of English descent. So, like, at the end of the day, like, this is not my full-time career. It's a hobby that's turned into something maybe a little bit more.
Sure.
And I hate the politics of the game. I hate what's going on with Cricket Canada right now, and how a lot of players are being told they can't go for provincial selection or national selection because of the team they're affiliated with or the league they're affiliated with. I mean, that bothers me so much, just for the development of the game and as a nation. So I've just kind of taken the stand of that I'm going to umpire. I mean,
No one can stop
I'm
you.
going to show up 30 minutes before game time with a coin to do a toss, and no one's going to tell me otherwise. I mean, if it comes to a situation where I get told I can't do a provincial tournament, well, to me, like, that's their loss. I mean,
Quality of umpiring will go down.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in demand, and I know there's a lot of other umpires that their names get thrown at me, like, we want this umpire more.
Yeah, we can all agree that you have gained a lot of respect for umpiring standards that you're setting in the city of Calgary here and beyond.
Yeah.
So the standard or the demand doesn't go up until you are producing the quality that you're producing.
Correct.
So it is their loss if that is something that is happening. But no, this is great. I appreciate you talking about this and having the balls of steel. With that, we want to thank you for watching the show, CricChat, powered by Umar Sheikh. Keep watching. We got lots more to go. Thank you.